If you asked a Forza fanboy what they thought about Formula Digital, they'd say who? But if you strapped them down and forced them to watch the channel, they'd likely call me a Gran Turismo shill. But the truth is, there was a time where I would sit wearing that goofy headset and race Forza all night long. That was until I discovered drivetrain swaps. I'll let Raceboy77 illustrate the issue for me.
Who needs draft when you have 1,000 horsepower?
Yeah, who needs any kind of skill when you've got that kind of power advantage over the field? The day I put 1,000 horsepower into a 4-wheel drive Honda Integra and set a world top 30 time was the day I set down Forza forever. But that was a lifetime ago. Forza is born again, remade from the ground up, but the question is, remade for who? This is not a Forza Motorsport review, and it's certainly not a guide. This is me, tempted back by an old lover and wondering, has she really changed her ways? I'm going in with an open mind, a complete and utter noob. The time for a proper review of this game will come, but for now I just want to know how much of that old spark has Turn 10 recaptured, and will it be enough to steal me away from Gran Turismo? In order to unlock the main multiplayer, there are some qualifying races to do. Through sheer foresight and skill, I managed not to record any of those, but they gave me an S safety rating and 4,500 skill rating, whatever that means. Right off the bat, I have the choice of spec or open events. It's kind of confusing. Are the spec events close to entry, or are they also open? I guess what they mean is that the car mods are available in the open events, but in spec events you are limited to just running the stock car. Apart from every single setting the car has, those you need to tune yourself. Even iRacing has fixed setup events. Forza, why are you forcing tuning on everybody? Have the open events for those who love to tinker, and leave the spec series for the rest of us. As it is, you have 2 tuner series and nothing for those of us who just want to test ourselves against equal drivers in equal setup cars. That rant out of the way, I hit the track in my stock understeermobile. I really have had to adjust my braking for this game. Usually I like to brake really late and have the rear of the car slide just a little bit to get me hooked up to the apex. But if there's a single car in Forza that doesn't understeer when you merely breathe on the brakes, I haven't driven it yet. I didn't even bother to qualify, I just needed to put in as many practice laps as possible. But when the time was up, I thought this screen was pretty cool. It's great that they give you the estimated number of laps right there when picking the fuel load. Though why it isn't automatically set to the race distance, I'll never know. Games UI should never make gamers do pointless work, and making this number here match this number here is really pointless. And it's too much work for me, it seems, as I leave it at 10. First corner in my very first real race, and I'm not covering myself in any glory. Everybody stops well before I'm ready and I nail the blue guy. But he does go on to easily make the turn, which makes me feel like he was going way too slow, but still, my bad, sorry blue guy. Here's where I'm trying to look around to see where I can move the car, but all this junk pops up on my screen when I'm just trying to look left. What the hell, Forza? I mapped these buttons that were working in single player. Never mind, I can try to use my mirrors, I guess. I don't need to look back anyway, because it's all kicking off in front. After the smokescreen, the blue guy gets introduced to the wall and I get a great run to nowhere, eventually deciding to bump draft the Audi, which the game slaps my wrist for. Seriously, you can't bump draft? Okay. I take this Skoda on the inside and somehow I'm up to 6th. But then one lap later, blue guy is coming back through the pack and pulls out a reverse Uno, and I go back down one place on that same corner. Up ahead it all gets a bit touchy-feely, allowing me to catch up and get alongside the Audi. But in the slip he gains tremendous speed. Not only doesn't he lose a place, he gains one. Well, for a little while anyway. Back up to 6th then, and the effort of showing Blue Guy the door has allowed me to close up and blow by this Volkswagen before we even get to the braking zone. That's 5th now with 2 laps to go. It's looking pretty good for this first race. That severe tyre warning is a little alarming, and yeah, I can't even keep the car on track anymore, but thankfully, I don't have to. I'll take 5th, but I really wish the game would tell me the ratings of the other drivers I'm up against. Was that a really good result, or was I just in a room with some really slow drivers? Don't know, but while trying to figure that one out, I did notice that Get Tune button. I'll take that tune, thanks. So on to race 2 then, but I just got that tune for the blue car, and that's a blue car. After waiting for Laguna Seca, Silverstone to load, I applied that stolen tune and set off again. Then quickly dived into the menu to change tyres. It's pretty cool you can do this while on track, and of course while here, apply that wheel button mapping once again. I got in as much practice as I could at Silverstone, not Laguna Seca, and the start was pretty good. I survived turn 1, swept right through the middle, and got a 2 for 1. But then, what's this Audi doing? How did he even get sideways like that? It's all good though. I take his position and get alongside his teammate. I think it's job done, but man, that understeer. I'm really not used to it. I drive completely off the track all by myself and almost do it again the very next turn. I'm feeling on the defensive, like I'm about to slip back through the pack, when someone has a nice adventure on the grass and that gives me another 2 positions. It really feels like when starting out, 90% of the battle is just staying on the track. Do that and you're golden. And here's another example. I don't know what those two are doing, but I'm taking my line and taking their places. Well, one of their places. That Audi is so quick in a line and I still can't get my car around that corner. And little did I know, that was the start of a battle. Try as he might, old mate just can't get away. Little by little I'm learning this physics model and I'm tempted to take a look here, but it's not on. He runs wide and I get a run into the sweeping turn, but again, it's just not quite right and I let him ease back ahead of me. Then on the straight I give him the benefit of the doubt here. Maybe he misjudged and thought I was further behind. No problem, there'll be other chances. He is really slow out of corners and I get another run on the inside of the old start finish. He's blocking the inside so I go outside, but he channels Max Verstappen and forces me out there too. It's starting to get personal. It's now lap 7 of 8 and he's been holding us both up so much that the guy in 7th is closing right in. I have a great run onto this straight, maybe I can do something next turn, but instead of defending the inside like a sane person, he puts a squeeze on me, and it doesn't go well for him. It cost me 2 places, but that seems like a small price to pay for such joyous entertainment. With 1 lap remaining, I was set for an easy pass on the inside, but P6 had other ideas entirely. And that's how that one ended. 7th in the end, but up 6 places. Not too bad. Next up it's Laguna Seca Grand Oak. Looks like it could be a wet race this time, so I throw on mediums for some reason. But honestly, it's looking like an okay choice. The pack isn't leaving me for dead at least. I get a run on the outside of that Audi and think about hanging it around the outside of the Civic too, but only end up tripping over that Audi and handing him back to place. I'm struggling with understeer here about as much as my GPU is struggling with the frame rate. Take 2 on the Audi and after some switchbacks it's me on the outside of that corner again, but this time he's even more punchy. Lap 3 of us dicing and I have another great run onto the straight and I can sail past the Audi once again. But I still haven't really figured out how to drive in Forza yet and that understeer is just killing me. Another Audi joins the fun and I'm exactly where I started till that Civic departs stage right. Another lap later and it's another Audi getting a pole run out of that turn. This time though it's all clean and I'm up to 5th. Now here's where the race starts to get really interesting. You can see that pit icon next to the race leaders' names and I'm starting to think that maybe those medium tyres weren't such a stupid choice after all. Up to 3rd now and I'll take that after the struggles of the opening laps. And that's how it finished. Decent results. I just wish on this screen they told you the tyre and pit strategies of each car. It would be fascinating to find out. Now it's on to Laguna Seca Watkins Glen. Here is a track I actually know, so I'm hoping for a better result here. I even bothered to qualify. Not that it goes particularly well. I start in 6th and instantly get the jump on those around me who I suspect of using traction control. There has to be some kind of reason why I'm usually faster off the line. I'm 5th going up the hill, which briefly becomes 4th till I'm too timid in the chicane and yet another Audi snatches the position back. Then I don't even know what happens here. Lag? That's 2 positions gained, which is a good deal for a 0.5 second penalty. Oh, take that, Mikey.
Total time penalty is about half a second.
Coming onto the front straight to complete lap 1, I'm sure Steelcat is just about to mug me, till he makes out like Houdini. Where did he go? Where is he? I'm so distracted I just run straight off the track. From here it's a pretty boring race till whatever I'm doing here happens. I lose one place and there are 2 more cars right up my rear. 1 leader pits and that takes me to 3rd before Damper and I decide to swap places for a bit. He drafts me down to the chicane where I can't do anything but let him go right by. Never one to take being passed lightly though, I put my head down and take the position back into turn 1. By the chicane where he got me last time, he is right with me applying the pressure again. I'm trying to go as deep as possible with my tyres are having none of it. He gets a great run around the outside and I'm thinking if you can pull that one off, then you deserve that position. He couldn't make it stick though, but I thought he might be beside me anyway and gave up room to completely empty air. This gave him the run out and my position along with it. Again, not one to give up, I put everything I had into getting him right on the line. And I did, but only thanks to penalties. If you look at the race timing before penalties, I was a few hundredths of a second slower at the flag. Great racing. A few days later with my safety rating dropped to A for some reason and 4,827 of the skills, I'm trying out the open event at Mid-Ohio. This is a track I didn't even know existed till now. Can you tell? After 10 minutes of lawn mowing action, I was resigned to my back of the pack fate. And what does it matter anyway when you are locked into street tires and the rest of the pack are on racing mediums? One single corner in and you can already see the split between those with tuned cars and those of us without. If it wasn't for guys like Odds Darker over here, I would struggle to gain any places at all. No idea what that was about, but I defended my position while moving up to 6th. It stays like this for a while and I'm really struggling for any kind of pace. Rocks takes advantage going through on the inside and the next turn I lose 2 places while gaining 1 back. And is that line even legal? I'm in no man's land here and you should be able to see from my driving how much I'm struggling. If the car isn't understeering, it's wildly oversteering with little in between. The driving model in Forza feels very detailed and very sim, but somehow doesn't feel quite right either. On lap 4 or 5, nothing much has changed except Rockstiver goes blasting past. Honestly, there isn't much I can do about it. Whatever the cause, I have 0 pace here. It helps when the competition does that though. In the end, it's 8th position and looking at those PI numbers, that's no wonder. Up next is a spec event at Kyle Army, driving this cool looking but ancient Nissan. This is another car I don't know on a circuit I also don't know, but at least this time I'm getting a tune. Just listen to that beautiful sound. This is looking pretty good, leaving that pack for dust. Maybe the rest of the pack is made up of noobs too? Because I know I'm not coming anywhere near close to acing this. Hell, I can't even keep it on the track. From that dream start, I'm slipping back to 3rd with quite a lot of work to do. Not too long after, I am blasting by Base Porcupine on the straight, but my inexperience in this car is showing. I brake way too early and give the place straight back. For a while anyway, he gets deep and allows me to take back the position on the inside for the next turn. I eventually catch that Jag up ahead and pull Base along with me. It looks like it's going to be an easy pass, but that E-Type packs some serious punch in a straight line. As soon as I pull a gear, he's just gone. It seems like I have all of the handling and he has all of the straight line. Through the twisty bit of the track, I take the position back. By lap 5 of 8, it's all looking pretty good. I have over an 8-second lead and all I need to do is bring it home. Not sure about that tyre wear warning though. It's only 1 lap later and that moderate warning is now severe and the speed I need to drop to not to run off the track is just ridiculous. My lead is dropping like a stone and I've got no choice. Into the pits I go. Back out and I'm 15 seconds behind. I really should have pitted sooner, or at least chosen another car, but hey, Learning is what being a noob's all about, right? By the end it's a decent result anyway, and given that I've never done any of this before, I'll take it. Sticking with this series, up next it's Silverstone in a much larger grid. I have started 11th this time, but after the chaos settles down I slot into 10th. For a while. I feel like I'm faster than the cars in front, but cannot find the right run. There's just always someone right where I want to be. I do get a good run on the outside here, but a little tap from behind under brakes and I'm all over the show. But I'm able to recover and chase down Borison again. But once again, getting alongside isn't enough. I'm still not in tune with the limits of grip in Forza, often being just too cautious. And was that really deserving of a 0.8 second penalty?
Total time penalty is about a second.
Whatever the case, I have another good run on Borison and we go have a nice little side-by-side battle till he has some contact with Solo, allowing me past. Chishu Racing thinks there's D1 and Solo departs the scene, all while Borison has tapped me from behind trying to take the place. It doesn't work out and I get Chishu going into the S's, but I'm focusing too much on my mirrors and get it all sorts of wrong. This gives Borison back the position I worked so hard to get in the first place. Now comes the era of Chishu racing. 1 tap, 2 taps, 3 taps, 4 taps, 5 tap, 6 taps, and a nice shove out of the way. I won't claim it didn't piss me off because
Total time penalty is about 1.5 seconds.
yeah, I was a little annoyed. Oops. Don't try this at home, folks. I'm a trained professional. At the end of lap 3, it's pit stop time because I'm not making the same mistake twice. You'll notice I came out ahead of the cars in front, which makes me think they were carrying less fuel, which is another way of saying I was carrying too much. But now I'm in 6th, so it's all good. That changed to 5th when one of the leaders pitted, but after a while it became clear that damn, this car just eats the tyres. I'm only half a lap from the end, but look at the state of my tyres, there's just nothing left. When it comes time to stop, I may as well put my feet down Fred Flintstone style. I can't even make it around this turn, and that finish line can't come soon enough. I did raise 6 positions, but it's looking like the Jag is the meta for this class. Next up is Silverstone, but back to sort out some unfinished business with that Aston. At least that is what I wanted, but no, I still don't have enough points for the car to be allowed to compete on an equal footing. So the next day I was back to the Spec events, this time throwing an NSX around yet another track that I've just today learnt existed. I picked a tune using the eeny meeny method and set about wondering why I can't look around but instead I get these UI elements all over my view. But it shouldn't be a surprise by now, this is what I have to do every single time I launch the game. Constantly remapping my wheel config. I mean, I get it. You can't be taken seriously in the PC space if your sim has a working UI. But come on guys, I expected better from a console port. Off the line I tried to give everybody a wide berth and stay out of trouble. But with this much chaos, trouble is going to find you. I don't even know what I did here, it's like I was scared into reverse. There's just too much happening to even commentate on. Every corner there's a different car in the barrier. When it finally settles down, I'm challenging for 14th. We're not even 2 laps in yet, but it's chaos all over again and I'm punted back to 17th. I barely have time to recover and it's all on again. Sir Finishing lives up to the hype, finishing off a handful of drivers in front like he's bowling. Then this Audi does the safest rejoin I've ever seen. And back to 14th. Well, 13th after putting the manners on the Audi and the hits ahead just keep coming. That's another 2 places. And a complete game crash. Nice. Fitting end to that race, really. I boot back in and this time I'm onto you, Forza PC version. I'm mapping my wheel again before I try to race. Fool me twice and all. While here, I'm also trying to fix the frame pacing issues. According to Digital Foundry, the game should be smooth with any of the VSync options, so I'm making sure I'm set to 60 FPS VSync. Which is working wonderfully, as you can see. Whoa, literally didn't see that coming. Got some work to do from here in this Spec GT race. but luckily Laguna is one of the few tracks I do know pretty well in this game. That's one position back, and another. This Corvette is all over the place and I managed to sneak around the outside. There goes another Porsche, and a BMW, and another Porsche. It's going kind of well after that start line fiasco. Out of the corkscrew there's definitely a car in that ball of flickering dust, and that's another position up to 12th now. With all the weight at the rear, you'd expect the 911 to be faster out of turns, but my NSX is eating this one alive for 11th. And then 10th into turn 1, or maybe not. Well, there is 10th, still behind this Porsche though. Till... well, that's 16th now. What a rollercoaster opening to a race. Lap 3 of 5 in this yellow 911 is really fighting the wrong fight. He is really slowing both of us down, and all it's going to do is see him caught by the lurking BMW behind. After some unexpected contact, I eventually make my way past just in time to get held up by yet another 911. He gets dealt with up the hill before this Corvette plays in the sand, and I have 2 laps to close down the nasty pack ahead. It's not too long before Johnny's on the scene looking like his tyres are completely shot. He's getting terrible exits, which gives me great entries and eventually his place. Almost in the top 10 now and 1.5 laps to make it happen. It's the last lap now and the 2 ahead have been having a really good battle, lots of side-by-side action. But every time one attacks and one defends, it just gets me even closer. Eventually there's a little contact between them heading up the corkscrew, and that's all it takes. The BMW loses a place. Now half a lap to pressure that Porsche. Or so I thought. I kept it tight watching that 911 kick up a little dust, expecting to be close into the final turn, but between me going a little defensive and the gut behind being a little aggressive, it's all over. Oh well, it was fun anyway. Eventually I come across the line in 11th, up 6 places. After that I decided to be a little bit adventurous and jump into some X-Class racing in an F1 car made when Rick Astley was still unironically in the charts. But honestly, I just can't gel with this car. I couldn't figure out how to drive it, and with the game giving me this nonsense, I decided to call it quits for a while. When I came back to it, it was to my bread and butter touring car racing. From the start, it was the usual tight pack chaos, but nothing sinister. By keeping it tight, I went from 13th all the way to 6th, only a few turns in. This was looking really good. I get a nice run on the outside of the Audi and we have a little drag race to the next turn. I hold it tight on the inside, don't run wide, and take position up to 5th. Next lap in the same position and the same outcome against a Golf. Almost up to a podium now, just gotta chase down that blue guy. It's the end of lap 5 now and I really should have pitted, but I'm so focused on this guy in front that it doesn't even enter my mind. One of the leaders does come in though, and that puts me up to 3rd. Finally, at the end of lap 6 we do pit, but with me being such a noob I almost run too wide to make it. I emerge back in 4th with blue guy Phil in the heat. He runs wide here and for a moment I think I'm through, but I need to back out of it and work on my exits. This pays off and I get the overlap, but he hangs it out there so we go side by side till the next turn. Eventually I get in front and he pushes just a little too hard trying to take the position back. I got some breathing space now, but I'm really wondering if I should have fitted soft tyres in the pit. From here the gaps stay about the same and it's a nice podium from 13th. For one last race I stayed in the touring car again because next up was Spa. This is a track I love, but again it's a track I've never raced in Forza before. After a little practice but no qualifying, I'm starting 17th with hard tyres, which might be a mistake. I don't know, but we're gonna find out. Off the line and I'm 16th. Someone dropped out already because that last screen said I was starting 17th, but whatever. I expected chaos at turn 1 and yeah, it wasn't pretty. After that mess I'm battling for 19th and the rest of the pack is miles ahead. To get a good result here is going to take some doing, but moments like that are going to help. 18th and a long way to go. Smoke up ahead is always a great sign, and yeah, green guy's got it all wrong. He almost took out the pack, but somehow everybody got through. I'm in 17th, back where I started, but that quickly becomes 16th. Guess someone rage quit up ahead. The Audi is still trying to recover from whatever he was doing when we head side by side into the sweeper. I feel a bit robbed here because I gave space, but he pushed me off the track and I also receive a penalty for it. but I did gain some places before Strulen just forgets how to drive and the Audi gets all punchy. This isn't looking good for a recovery drive through the pack, and don't ask me what's going on here. I don't know. By lap 2 I'm in 13th place, just about to inherit 11th when these two, let's say gentlemen, drive each other straight off the track. The Hyundai gets a bit wide and I take a look, but there's no going around the outside here. I decide to be patient, but I don't need to wait long before the hatchback is off the track and I'm into the top 10. I get a great run on the murderous Strulen down the straight, but I am a bit too polite and make sure to brake early, ready for his weaving defense. But this allows our car around the outside, which bumps me out of the way the next turn. Thanks, man. Someone pitted on lap 3 and by the time I put this move back on the VW, I was up to 9th. These two in front have been going at it for a while. Really surprised that Audi hasn't been sent to the Shadow Realm yet, but it's great for me as I can just sweep back around the outside. That Volkswagen did its best to make some contact when I turned in, but he just missed. 8th now, and Strulen is pretty slow. In a fair fight, we should have passed him, but there it is, he just runs off the track. Coming onto the straight, I was 7th, but that soon becomes 5th as the leaders dive into the pits. The issue now is though that all the cars I can see ahead have far better tyres. I think my charge through the pack is now done. And there goes 5th. This really wasn't a great tyre strategy once I got caught up in battles. I either needed to have a clear run or go with softer tyres and a pit stop. Nothing I can do about that now though. On the final lap I'm really struggling. The gap behind has gone from 15 seconds to basically nothing by the line. One more corner and they would have had me. Annoyingly though, when I look at the results, I am put behind the two drivers who finished behind me due to the penalties that they gave me. And that's where I left it. I had a lot of fun in Forza. Some of the wheel-to-wheel racing was a lot better than I ever expected. But reflecting on it, I'm left thinking more about what could be rather than what is. No matter what aspect comes to mind, the result is always the same. Close, but no cigar. Take the graphics. They can be spectacular at times. Turn 10 did an amazing thing with the lighting model. But then I'm dropping to 30 frames per second on an RTX 3080 with the same settings that sometimes give me over 100 FPS. Worse still, even when the frame rate is stable, the game is so full of frame pacing issues that it still looks like a slideshow anyway. And the choice of races online. I was initially very happy to see spec racing. I don't have time to develop a car. I can't put in countless hours of testing suspension and aero settings. I want to jump into my rig and race. Fixed setup racing for me is really where it's at. But unfortunately in Forza, spec and fixed are not the same thing. You can completely alter the car in either. It's just that you cannot add aftermarket parts in the spec events. You're going to need a setup no matter what. Sure, you can download a setup, but how does that handle? Which one is best? This still doesn't solve the issue of needing to sacrifice a lot of your precious time testing setups, and I haven't even touched on the physics yet. This one is interesting because you can feel that there is a lot going on in Forza's new physics model. Detail just isn't an issue, but for me it feels kind of buggy. I don't have a strong basis for saying that. I cannot pinpoint to some specific bug that I've found. My main complaint is very much like the complaints I had with Gran Turismo before the GT Sport era. In almost every car, when you breathe on the throttle, the car understeers off the track. Breathe on the brake, it understeers off the track. Personally, I have the most fun in pointy cars. Cars that I can back into corners like MotoGP riders and power slide out. But Forza isn't conducive to that. Not right now anyway. But like everything else, the fundamentals all seem in place. Every aspect of this game could be brilliant. As for me, maybe I'll be floating back to GT7. Maybe something else is going to catch my eye. But whatever happens, I'll be keeping a close watch on Forza. It's potentially just one big patch away from absolute brilliance.
Well,